Good evening, everybody. Today we're going to do 5 rooms again in our 100 room build. Of course, these 100 rooms are dedicated to my first 100 subscribers, so thank you all so much for subscribing. It means a lot to me. Obviously, we're a little bit past the 100 now, but it still means a lot that you guys are following and enjoying my content. So I did have a little bit of technical problems during this whole recording, so unfortunately it didn't record any of my audio, but I'm just going to do it as a voiceover instead. Be sure that this is going to be the only time that this happens, as it's just a little bit of a technical problem. So after this video, it's going to be back to our normal commentating while I actually make the build. But due to that, this video will be a little bit shorter, but rest assured, obviously, we're going to get our normal one back next week, where it's going to be a slightly longer video. So we're going to start off with our first room, which luckily we got a outward facing wall, so we get loads of big windows for this one. So I thought, because we've got like quite a lot of big window, I wanted to try and make it like a little art gallery with like, or not an art gallery, like an art studio with like loads of really high windows that literally lead like so much light into the room that it's just going to make it feel like really nice and warming. My idea for this one was just sort of to stick it with kind of like my ideal art studio. I think that it'd be really cool to have like loads of canvases around, have obviously your big like easel right up against the window so that you could look out onto like a nice sort of scenery and be able to paint that. I thought as well we could also add in like a little workbench, which is what I've added here, that obviously you could do like some sketches on, or you could do even some like woodcraft and things, maybe if you were making like picture frames for some of the little pictures that you've made and things like that. But mainly I wanted this to feel like an attic, so obviously I picked sort of like older looking walls and some older looking floors, and then definitely wanted it to have like a lot of clutter in it. I wanted to add kind of like a few like sketches and things onto the walls, because I just thought that that would like look the most sort of authentic, because I know that if I was going to sort of have like little sketches around it would definitely feel a lot more like it's a little art studio as well. I wanted to make sure as well obviously that we had some like non-natural light going in there as well, but I wanted it to still feel like it's a little bit of an attic, so I wanted to just kind of have like bulbs hanging from the ceiling. Like, after I created that room though, I had this like really odd idea where I could just take like a massive aquarium, because at the minute there's a lot of like videos going around of like creators basically making because obviously we don't get an aquarium in the game, but we get a fish tank. So what people have been doing is getting the fish tank, sizing it down so that it's really small, and then creating an aquarium using loads of random objects like rocks and like plants and things. But then when you size down the fish tank, you actually end up with all of the fish still being able to swim around. So I did that for one of the rooms here. I had to like work out how to actually do it, because I've never actually done this before, but I had this idea that if we took one of the rooms that was in the center and obviously had the 9 blocks around the outside, then we could do a big aquarium in the middle, so that each of the rooms that are obviously on each of the edges would end up having this like massive aquarium into it. Obviously it does kind of restrict the actual rooms that I could make on each of those sides that has the aquarium, because it's got to fit in with having like a massive aquarium across one wall. But I thought it'd be really cool to just like mix it up a little bit and have this one thing that just looks like way more exciting in between all of these regular looking rooms. I basically just used like a lot of plants that I thought would work like quite well in an aquarium. Obviously you don't want ones that have like massive leaf, because you wouldn't tend to have like big like leaf foliage kind of things underwater, because it wouldn't really work that great. So I tried to go with like some of the ones that I think are meant for like a pond. So they're obviously like, so they're like quite thin leaves, that sort of thing, that I think those tend to work quite well underwater. Then was the part where I had to start like adding in all of the little like fish tanks and like making them smaller and things like that. So I basically just like bought all of the fish that you get for the fish tank. Obviously this aquarium could be more exciting if I like used cheats to get like the more exciting exotic fish, but I just sort of went ahead and because it would take me like very long period of time, because you literally have to fill like each fish tank that you want to have. So I just ended up just like buying like full amount for the fish tank. But yeah, once I'd added all of those in, we were all set, and it actually looked like really good. I definitely want to include this in like future builds that I might be making, just because the aquarium does look really cool with all the little fish swimming around. But yeah, next I moved on to our little pink room. So I basically just obviously the last video that I made was like all of the different rooms in a house that are like different colors, and each room has to have like only things with certain colors in it. So I tried to make that again in one of these rooms, because I really just wanted to make like a really pink room. So I decided to try and do a bedroom this time, because I just thought it'd be like nice to have like just a really bright pink bedroom. The only issue that I found really with making this room was that I wanted to make sure all of the pinks were like the same shade of pink, and that was the only real problem that I think that I really had. I do think that it looks like pretty cool, but obviously you want to make sure you have the same ones, and there was a lot in there that had this really peachy tone to them, which it's a really nice peachy tone, but once you settle on one tone you have to stick with that obviously for like the rest of the room, otherwise it ends up looking really garbage. I also wanted to try and and get it so it was the same era. And I think what I kind of ended up going with was like sort of a pink and white Victorian bedroom kind of thing. But I wanted it to be more like it isn't authentic. It's more like a teenager kind of wanted to make that sort of Victorian room, or like a parent like made it for them and kind of tried to pick bits of items that were looking like they were Victorian, but really a lot of it doesn't really go together. I think my favorite part about this room though is just like the fact that there are a few items that are from like the same pack that do have that kind of Victorian or like teenagery or tween kind of design to them. So obviously like we've picked like the bed and then the side tables that clearly like kind of go together, and you've got the wardrobe as well that does go with those same items. The bit that I got really caught up on was that I didn't know what to put behind the bed, so I was like looking and I was like, oh yeah, I could put like a picture behind there. I wanted to put like curtains behind there as well because I thought that could be really cool. You know, like how you've got curtains just like directly behind the headboard or that go over the bed, but I couldn't actually find any that worked the way that I was kind of hoping. I ended up sort of looking for pictures, but unfortunately there's not really a massive amount of pictures that go with the kind of like Victorian style that I was thinking, but that are still like quite pink and almost girly. I then just randomly like decided that I also wanted to add the sort of pink and white tinged ivy that you've got that are in the curtain section just across the windows because I thought that would look really cool. I of course also wanted to add like a little desk in where you could sit at, and I managed to find this chair that like fit in perfectly with this room. I of course also had to add in a little wardrobe as well. Then moving on to the next room, I decided to do this room as like, because obviously this is the first room that we've got that has that aquarium across the entire thing. And after making like that bedroom, I kind of thought like, oh well, I could do another bedroom coming off of it. I don't like to kind of do the same thing like two bedrooms, kitchens or whatever in one video, but I kind of thought like, oh, what if this was like a kid's room instead of a teenager's room, but we did it like pirate themed or like ocean themed? Because I know like a lot of people obviously do that with like their bathrooms and things, but you can have like kids who are like really into the ocean. So like, what if we did it so that it was like a kid who really enjoys the ocean, or really likes pirates or sea life and that sort of thing? So could we do like a room that's sort of themed around that? So like what I basically tried to do was do like what, like we see like the blue walls all the way across the room, add in a little sort of accent wall that has like little ships on it, and then also I chose like cream carpet because obviously we've got the sand in the aquarium, and I was thinking like, oh, it'd be really cool if just it continued on so it kind of looks like the room is a part of the aquarium, so that when the kid was inside it they would think like, oh, it's like I'm swimming around in the ocean. The only issue that I had there was then I had to think about like what kind of furniture you put in there, and unfortunately there's not really a massive amount of bedroom stuff that is like the, I ended up going with like a little bunk bed that was made out of wood with like just a blue sheet on it, just because I kind of felt like, oh, the kid could pretend that that's sort of like a boat and that you've got to climb up the side of the boat in order to get in, and I put that against the accent wall so it felt more like it was a boat. Moving on, I obviously wanted to add more items in there, so I wanted to add a little wardrobe. I matched the wardrobe to the wall so that it like blended in a little bit better, and I also added a cute little like stripy clock in because I think like you tend to have a lot of stripes on like pirates and things like that, like their hats or their shirts and things like that. I then found this really cool like obviously like a boat steering wheel kind of thing, and I really wanted to include that because I was like, oh, that'd be really cool if you were a child and you had like this little boat and like sea themed room, and you also had like a whole wheel in there as well that you could play with room. I also added in this little inflatable pool just because I thought like, oh, if this kid like really likes the ocean and really likes water, then they might want to have like a little pool in their room as well, just for like funsies. Originally, obviously, if this was real, I wouldn't put water in it, and you'd put like little ball, like, you know, like the little ball pools. You'd probably put that in it, but that isn't in the game, unfortunately. Moving on to our final room. So this one, I put like a little bit of thought into because I was like, well, we've got a lot of doors coming off of this room, so we've literally got like one on every wall pretty much. So I was like thinking, oh, like how am I gonna do that because the room's gonna look absolutely dreadful because it's got literally so many rooms in it. So I was thinking like, how about I just play into it and we just make it a hallway? But then I was thinking like, well, how do you have a square hallway and how do you make it look good and not just like it throwaway room? So I decided to go like a little bit out of my depths, and I tried to make it so that it had like a hole in the middle that had some plants in it. And I was thinking like, oh, it'd be really cool if I could do it so that it was underground. And then I was like, well, you can't really do that because ground ground gets in the way, so I had to drop that idea. And then I thought, well, how about we try and make it like a sort of old derelict like hallway that you might have in like a mansion kind of thing, like an old mansion that's been like left and that no one's been there for thousands of years. So the way that I kind of went with that, and I've never really done anything like this before, which is why it was like a little bit out of my comfort zone, because I've never used like cobwebs you get in the game. I've never used like the dying plants. I tried to make everything look like really like pastely or like pretty and things like that. So it was really weird to try and make something that looked like completely old and derelict. So I tried to use like some obviously like wooden planks, and then I added like a railing all the way around. I added some like dying plants in the middle, and then I just sort of went through and just added some of the like scuff marks on the wood that you can get, and like the cracks that you might get in the house. I picked like a more sort of old Victorian kind of house like wallpaper, and then I just added a bunch of like sort of like vid pictures as well, because I wanted to add the little pictures as well. I'm actually like really pleased with how that room came out. I think it looks like really cool, and it isn't like anything that I've ever done before, so I just think it looks like really good considering that I've never tried anything like that, and I definitely kind of want to make just like a really old house now. And that is our builds all done. I am really happy with that. I do apologize again that I wasn't able to get all of the like voice recording over the original recording that I actually did. It is really annoying that that happened. I thought I would have to throw away all the rooms and basically restart, but I'm pretty happy with the way that they all came out. Again, I do apologize about that. Be sure that next time it's going to be the same as my old videos, so don't worry. But thank you all for watching so much. Let me know in the comments which one was your favorite room. I think I really like the aquarium, but oddly enough, like one of my favorites is actually the hallway, which I'm kind of surprised by, but I actually really like it. I think that the hallway kind of came out more unique than a lot of the ones that I normally do. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. There is a playlist for all of my 100 builds on the screen, and there's also a video that I think you'd really enjoy, so feel free to check that out. Have a good evening.